Live slow, live it up, watching time go. Planning moves, staying solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Live slow, live it up, watching time go. Making moves, staying solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. This how it is, the mission's Benjamins. And fuck the drama and the bullshit, we ain't little kids. My circle small, but my riders heart, they never quit. Get your money, keep it gangsta, solid, straight legit. Never switch like the real ones that die for this. It's fucked up, but this is truly how it is. I hope you're ready if you're picking this like full of sin. No turning back, I represent my vital to the end. Fuck the fakes and the snakes and everyone that hates. I'm not phased, I won't break, bitch, I'll never.
You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment.
Now, as we continue the all city neighborhoods, for this one we actually have to travel to the city, well, actually to the area of the San Fernando Valley, my home, the 818, you already know. And to be exact, we're going to be traveling to the area that is known as Panorama City, because this is a neighborhood where you're able to find, this is an area where you're able to find, one of these city neighborhoods, which is known as the PCBST, Panorama City Blythe Street Gang. Now, there's a reason why, you see these cities attached to these neighborhoods, you know what I mean? Because people could be like, nah, well, it's just Blythe Street, it's just Blythe Street. Look, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see the Panorama City attached to the Blythe Street part, you know what I mean? And their tattoos, their hit-ups, and stuff like that, but there's a reason for it. Because, see, the San Fernando Valley is home to 2 BST neighborhoods. So there's 2 BSTs. So there's 2 streets, that are similar. So that's the reason why you always see the cities attached to the street. That way, people could separate, the 2 different neighborhoods from each other. And that's the reason why, you see it, as Panorama City, Blythe Street. Not only that, but, this is the original home of the Blythe Street Gang. They were the original gang out of the Panorama City area. Not only that, at one point, they were the only gang in the city of Panorama. You know what I mean? But then you had the Willis boys, and then you had, other tag bang crews and stuff like that. But essentially, it was the home to the Blythe Street Gang. You know what I mean? Which is an old neighborhood, been around since the 70s. And there are a large, notorious neighborhood, one that has made the news several times. Law enforcement has thrown everything and has done sweeps on these guys, and it goes down. With more than 400 members in their existence, throughout, the times, spread out throughout the San Fernando Valley, not just in Panorama City, and spread out through other locations as well. You know what I mean? This is a very large, notorious gang, which territory, extends all the way from Sepulveda, and from Sepulveda all the way to Roscoe, all the way down to where the Pacoima Wash is at, through all of that, to Parthenia, all the way to Van Nuys Boulevard, and Van Nuys Boulevard, their territory still extends all the way back to where Raymere Street is at, you know what I mean, by the wash again. So throughout all of that is their area, you know what I mean, throughout Willis, throughout Lanark, throughout, all of that, you know what I mean, Roscoe, it's, it's all the, it's a giant amount of territory. That's why they are a large gang, because, they have, pretty vast amount of territory, because you have, dozens of apartments, just scattered throughout these locations. It's mostly apartments, so, you're going to get a ton of people. But their heart of their hood and their domain is on Blythe Street, obviously, you know what I mean? Blythe and Willis, their domain, you know what I mean? You catch them by where the plant is at too, the movie theater, all of that is what's considered the Blythe Street. And this is a very active and well-known neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley, you know what I mean? It's one of the more, recognizable one, for their activities. I'm telling you, they're just, they're a neighborhood that's just, active, you know what I mean? They do their thing. People can't, take nothing from these individuals. They could hate them, but they, they can't say that these are not the facts. The facts are the facts, bro. You know what I mean? It is what it is. With more than 400 members and several cliques, you know what I mean? From the Rascals, Chicos, Dukes, Hispanics Most Wanted. You know what I mean? They have several cliques, to their barrio. And continue to still represent theirs and hold it down for the, Panorama City Blythe Street. Another one-known set in the 818 Valley, this one being a little bit different because they're tag bangers, but they're a set that is well recognized. They do their thing. They have, members, not just here in the San Fernando Valley, but even like in Mexico. And they're large, you know what I mean? they're a large crew, you know what I mean, with more than 60 members to this crew. Tag bangers, you know what I mean, which is the Barrio DC standing for different things: delincuentes, dangerous crew, we talked about this before. And also Dark City is another one that they used to make a stand for, you know what I mean. Dark City, DC, is a crew, that started roughly around the 90s and just expanded, you know what I mean. They're known for just doing the things that neighborhoods do, you know what I mean, from everything, you know what I mean, from the shootings to the the criminal activities, and and alleged murders and all kinds of shit, you know what I mean. It be going down with the DCs, you know what I mean. These guys ain't playing, right here in the San Fernando Valley. You can find them, spread out different locations, throughout the San Fernando Valley, like North Hollywood, Sun Valley, Pacoima, areas like that, etc. Right there by the Fernangeles Park as well, where the Sun Valley Diablos are at, you know what I mean. Also, territory to the Dark City. And like I said, this crew, shouldn't be taken lightly, you know what I mean. They should be viewed, just as dangerous as a gang, you know what I mean, because they do handle their business and will handle their business, you know what I mean. These guys ain't playing. Like I said, they're just, another active group that continues to still hold it down for theirs and their cliques, you know what I mean? Because they do go at it with gangs too, you know what I mean? And they have homies busted, and they just been able to manage to stand on, on their feet. Like I said, I know people out of this neighborhood, and I know they've been with it, you know what I mean? I have ran into them in the streets too, and they've been stick-up kids, man. Like I said, homie, they move just like neighborhoods do, you know what I mean? So that's why people, shouldn't take them lightly, and although their neighborhood stands for different things, Dark City was one of the, the terms that they would use as well, you know what I mean? We can find them on the darker side of the city, you know what I mean? But that's what's up with the DC right there holding it down in the 818. Now, as we maintain ourselves right here in the San Fernando Valley, we will be heading towards another destination. This one is a destination that often gets misled. People, like to talk, without knowing it, and go based off of too many movies that they watched. And it is the reason why, the Blythe Street neighborhood, puts PC, because we have its doppelganger, which is the other BST here in the San Fernando Valley, which is known as the NCBST. NC standing for Northridge City, Bryant Street. BST, Bryant Street. Northridge Bryant Street is one of the original neighborhoods out of Northridge. Already been right here for a cool minute, you know what I mean, since the 80s. It is one of the more, recognizable large neighborhoods out of Northridge. One of the neighborhoods that's been putting Northridge on the map. And like I said, people, look at Northridge, or they look at certain areas, they think it looks nice, you know what I mean? And just because it looks that way, they think that nothing cracks. But like I've always said, don't judge a book by its cover. And these neighborhoods could exist anywhere, bro. Anywhere. You know what I mean? What makes it the hood is the mentality, not the way the area looks. Not the area, is the mentality. You know what I mean? Because these individuals, if they catch you in their spot, my boy, and it's time to go, my boy, then that's it. It's done for you. You know what I'm saying? Despite the area could look nice and all of that shit is not gonna matter once it really comes down to it. You know what I mean? Once it really goes down, the area looking nice is not going to protect you. That's one of the misconceptions. People think just because an area looks nice that neighborhoods can't exist in these areas and stuff like that. This problem goes, deeper beyond that. You know what I mean? This problem could exist anywhere. Anywhere, people refuse to, own up to theirs and refuse to, be parents. Now, the Northridge Bryant Street neighborhood is right here. Everything that's from Strathern to Tampa Avenue, all the way to Parthenia, all the way to Wilbur Avenue. Everything that's in the middle is what's considered the barrio, Northridge Bryant Street. So throughout Roscoe, throughout Alcantara Street, throughout Leonard, throughout Community Street, throughout Valadin Avenue, throughout Chase, throughout Napa, and of course the heart of the hood on Bryan. You know what I mean? Bryan and Beckford Avenue, right there by Vanadale Avenue as well. In those apartments, the iconic, apartments right there on Bryan. You know what I mean? That is their dojo, their main domain. That is the heart of the hood. That is where it really be going down. You feel me? And throughout all these areas where you're able to find this neighborhood, like I said, one of Northridge, notorious neighborhoods, because there is several gangs right here in Northridge, you know what I mean? So they do have, it's not like just like Lovely where there's no enemigos around, you know what I mean? Because you got the Canoga gangs aren't that far. You got Resitas, they be with, with those neighborhoods in that area, and then you have other neighborhoods in Northridge that don't get along. So it gets chaotic, homie. You know what I mean? It's not all lovely. But the Northridge City BST keeps on representing. And now, as we maintain still in the same area, Northridge City, right? We're able to find another neighborhood that writes NC all the time too. Now, although there is several neighborhoods with this title on it, but they're all different. We have the Barrio BPS translating to Barrio Brown Pride Sureños. There's other Brown Pride barrios. You have Brown Pride Raza, Brown Pride Locals, but they're all different barrios. You know what I mean? Raza is probably older, but Sureños is the largest one. They're the deepest one. You know what I mean? Another well-recognized neighborhood next to Bryan for the city of Northridge. But you can find them in other locations in the San Fernando Valley too, and also in South Central and in different other parts in Northern California as well. But this is where they started from. This is their original playground. This is where they were born from. You know what I mean? Out of the city of Northridge. And they, like I said, they were a dominant gang, a dominant presence, you know what I mean? And they still continue to maintain right there, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, they're the largest out of all the Brown Pride neighborhoods because there's several of them, but this one is the largest one. And although the other ones, are also in the city of Northridge, you hardly ever see them put up Northridge or NC or any of that, you know what I mean? They roughly don't ever put that, but the Brown Pride Sureños, obviously they rip it a lot because they're proud of the area that they come from. And their barrio is everything that's close to the Northridge Middle School. So everything that's from Reseda Boulevard to Parthenia to Roscoe, and Roscoe all the way to White Oak Avenue and down to Chase and to Lenley Avenue. So everything that's in the middle is considered their barrio. So them throughout Napa, throughout Chase, throughout, all of that, and close to where the middle school's at. And through all those back ends is where you're able to find the Brown Pride Sureños. You know what I mean? This is their territory. This is where they established. And like I said, it's hectic too because, you have the original Valley, Gangster Cribs right there. You got the Westside Crazies. You got the Dead End Gangster Cribs right there. The Northridge ones too. You got, Clanton. You got 18 that's, close by there. Clare Street and, you got all kinds of shit over here. I'm telling you, it'd be cracking, you know what I mean? Between the city of Northridge and Reseda, man, it just be popping. It ain't no joke, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is where you're able to find the Brown Pride Sureños, another, real barrio representing, Northridge City, Brown Pride Sureños. That's what the NC stands for, Northridge City, so another city neighborhood. And they be representing and holding it down for theirs. These guys definitely have real writers in their sets and real individuals that hold it down, you know what I mean? Shout out to the homie Stomper out of Brown Pride Sureños, and shout out to all the homies that hold it down right there. Now, as we make our way to San Diego, already know San Diego has several neighborhoods, to it, city neighborhoods as well, because we already covered some. But now we're going to be covering, some of the more bigger ones, old school, largest ones, when it comes to, this side of town. We'll be starting off with the more recognizable one, which is the Old Town Westside National City. Westside Old Town National City, out of the west side of National City, a large neighborhood, you know what I mean, with several cliques like the Insane Boys, one of the more recognizable cliques, the OBS Boys, and the MTKs that used to be a tag banging crew that became a neighborhood, that fall under this umbrella of the west side of National City. You feel me? But the Insane Boys is probably the more recognizable one, the largest one. They deep, my boy, and they get it on and cracking, They've been holding it down right here for a long time. And it is the largest, you know what I mean? It is the more recognizable one, when it comes to, this barrio. And, they've been around since like the 40s, you know what I mean? So they're already going back, for, long time, you know what I'm saying? They've been holding it down. And the west side, you pretty much could find their barrio on the west side, obviously, of National City. But to be exact, because you have different barrios, because they run their barrio kind of like Westside Verdugo does in Puente, right? Where they're all individual gangs, but they fall under the same umbrella, but they're their own gangs. I know it gets kind of confusing and complicated. It just happens to be one of these neighborhoods that's like that. It's hard to understand. But they're individual gangs, but they fall under one side, which is like the Westside National City. You know what I mean? Because you do have like the National City Locals, you have the Northern Avenue Boys, you have the Devonshire Street, then you have the Insane Boys, the OBS, you have the MTKs. You get what I'm saying? And all can be found right there, like what's from Highland to Devonshire Street to Palm Avenue, all the way to 8th. Is where they're about to, be established. Oh, and then they have the Alley Boys as well. But some of these cliques already, aren't active, haven't been active. But the more active ones, that people recognize probably instead of these older ones is probably the IBS, OBS, MTK, and etc. But they have history and cliques that go beyond that. You know what I mean? Before that. But that's already, diving into ancient history. But the Westside National City, one of San Diego's largest powerhouse, more recognizable neighborhood. They deep, they with the business. You know what I mean? When people think about San Diego, this is a neighborhood that definitely comes into mind because these vatos ain't playing, homie. They've been right here, established, and been doing the thing since the beginning, my boys, since the beginning. You know what I mean? And they continue to still hold it down for the west side of National City and other cliques that be representing for theirs. And now as we come now to the east side of National City, where we're able to find the other sides of National City that fall under the east side, because there's several of these neighborhoods too that are individual gangs, just like the west side, but they fall under the same umbrella of the east side of National City, but they're their own individual gangs. What the more recognizable one, the more larger one, out of them is the ACA boys. You know what I mean? The ABS, Eastside National City ACA boys. ABS, not to be confused with the Alley Boys, you know what I mean? They're different. And they're the more larger one, and the one that people think about when they think about the east side of National City is the more recognizable, barrio, clica, from theirs. And they're everything, on the east, you know what I mean? Close to the corner of the southeast corner of National City, north of Plaza Boulevard to 54th Filipino American Freeway to Calle Rachel, and then the west of the 805 is where you're able to find this barrio. So everything that's in the middle, that's their territory. That's where they've been holding it down. You know what I mean? Another old school barrio, not as large as the west side, but nonetheless, homie, still a barrio that holds a presence. Then you have the Block Boys, BBS, or NCBB, who associates himself with the Acre Boys as well. You know what I mean? They claim Alta Vista neighborhood, northeast corner of National City by Cherry and Peach Blossom Lane on 4th. That is their barrio, you know what I mean? Their headquarters, being the block of the 4100 block of East Plaza Boulevard between Harbison Street to Devonshire Street to Paradise Valley Road. You know what I mean? And then you have the East Side National City Locals, which, they're in the Plaza Monner neighborhood. What's Palm Avenue to, Harbison to Plaza Boulevard to Devonshire. You know what I mean? And they all fall under the east side of National City. You know what I mean? And that is who they are and who they represent for, and this in itself as a whole, is not as large as the west side, but nonetheless, homie, they still hold a presence and they still a dominant force right there in National City. You know what I mean? Even though it's not as heard or recognized as much as the west side of National City, don't ever get it twisted. These guys handle business and they've been holding it down right here too. And they still continue to do their thing right there for the east side of National City.
Thank you for watching M.O.D Entertainment. Make sure you like and subscribe.